Sit back, relax and join me to discover some real hidden gems on the beautiful Isle of Bute, Scotland. Indeed, less than 7,000 people per year are estimated to walk some of the very same paths on Bute we are about to tread. Good morning, and what a good morning it is. The weather's good, and I'm on the Isle of Bute in Scotland, where I'm on the very southern tip, starting off in Kilchatten Bay, and I'm going to do a walk right on the southern tip around the West Island Way. There's a few points of interest along the way, like an old Iron Age fort, an old chapel or a monastery, and a stone circle, amongst other things, and hopefully some superb views. We'll see how we get on. So we're just come off the main road now, picking up the West Island Way. Here's another parking area right at the tip of Kilchatten Bay. There's plenty of parking on the front anyway, so parking is not really a problem. Plenty of daffodils here on the trail. The West Island Way opened in September 2000. It is a long distance waymarked path and encompasses some of the finest walking on the Isle of Bute. And the trail's marked out. Well, this walk this morning was a bit of a spur of the moment thing. I've got one full day on Bute. So I just had a look on the map last night and noticed a few points of interest around here. So basically routed something out, and here I am. Rough track ahead. Sounds as though it's been eroded. I'm sure I've been on rougher. I'm sure we'll pick up the path again soon. So I'm just taking in the views behind me. The path isn't that rough yet, so maybe there's some rough stuff to come. See a fishing boat, what I think is a fishing boat out in the Firth. Just round the corner, see a little lighthouse on the headland as we approach pretty much the southern tip of the Isle of Bute. This is Glencallum Bay Lighthouse. Glencallum Bay Lighthouse was built in 1911 and was designed by the renowned Stevenson family of lighthouse engineers. The 8-metre high octagonal white painted iron tower features a galleried lantern at the top. I'm just at a lighthouse. You can kind of scramble across if you want, but I'm not going to bother. Just leaving the lighthouse behind now. Catch the West Island Way back up, or pick it back up. So we're now just making our way to this signpost ahead, which picks us back up onto the West Island Way. So we've now picked the West Island Way back up, making our way around to around the southern tip of the Isle of Bute. Here we are, just approached Glencallum Bay, and there's a boat anchored in the bay. Just coming onto Glencallum Bay now. Place to myself. Lovely and peaceful. Got ahead of those two blokes. See the lighthouse back over yonder. Thought I'd get my my mush on with Glencallum Bay in the background to prove I've been to this place. Something to look back on. Well, all my videos are for something for me to look back on, which is the main reason I started my channel. When I'm too old to do this kind of stuff, I can watch my videos back and reminisce about the good old days. Hopefully that's many years away before that happens. And I have many more videos to come. Yeah, this is quite a nice explore up to now. See our path making its way up into the hillside at the opposite end of the bay. Just climbing out of the Glencallum Bay now. Just get the views behind. Might get some better views as we get to the top. Get some views down into the bay. We've just climbed up now. We're up over the top of Glencallum Bay. See the lighthouse that I was at earlier over on the headland. See if we can get a bit of a viewpoint up here of the bay overhead. Looks like there is a bit of a trek to the headland. Should be pretty cool. So here we go. There's another beach area on the other side. Quite breezy up here, but hopefully my microphone's doing pretty well. There we are. Beautiful. So come across the other side, whatever view that is. We've got a couple of options. We can go to Tormore, which I don't think I'll bother with. I'll just make my way around the West Island Way. Well, the island just across the water is the Isle of Arran, where I was yesterday and for the last few days, and that'll be Goat Fell, I would have thought, up there. Just come across this loch. Don't know what it's called. I'll have a look on the map. I'll flash up on the screen if you can hear me. It's super windy here in this little gap. So it's called Loch na Leighe. Probably not pronounced correct. But, carry on up. Just come off the West Island Way a bit. It's got a bit of high ground. I can see Loch na Leighe from the other side. I'm off the beaten track now. Going across this interesting looking tree. And there's a bonsai tree. It's like a prickly fellow at that. So again, those better views towards Arran, across the rugged coastline. I think I'm going to go back and pick up the West Island Way perhaps. I'll have a look at the map first. So here we are. Back on the West Island Way. Just come across Loch na Leighe again on the other side. Very green round here. Be you going or be you coming, be you soon or be you late, always remember to shut the gate. There you go, a bit of poetry. Some fantastic views. Getting views of Loch and Leighe from the other side now. Turning into a really nice day, the sun's out. As you can see, there's plenty of markers. Can't really get lost here. Discover Bute. Looks like we're coming across a farm. Sheep making a bit of racket. Or one anyway. Pretty blustery. Still think I'm following them because that's the way the route goes. Sorry, ladies. So just following the signs. And we'll be coming up to the little chapel soon, St Blane's. So that's another point of interest. This place seemed like something out of Lord of the Rings and Hobbiton. All the rolling hills and the greenery. So that farm over there is called the Plan, if the map is anything to go by. Looks like we were heading away from the Plan. It's not like me to head away from the Plan and go on your little adventures. So indeed the Plan, just left the Plan, and it's now nicely marked up around here. Ready up this path, carrying on the West Island Way up to St Blane's and the chapel. A nice lovely tree along the way, looking down at the Plan, and across to the Isle of Arran. It's getting a bit less hazy than it was this morning too, which is good. But I'm sure you'll agree that's a super view across to the Isle of Arran. It's been a better walk than I expected, if I'm honest. And quite a good last minute choice. And I'm sure there's plenty more things to come, like the chapel and the old fort and some stone circle. Just getting those last of those views of the Isle of Arran as we head into the woods, and I can see what I think is the St Blane's chapels, or the remains of. So here we are at the St Blane's Chapel, or the ruins of. St Blane's Chapel has its roots in a monastery founded on the same site in the 6th century. The monastery itself was the home of St Blane, who was the bishop and confessor in Scotland, born on the Isle of Bute. He died in 590 AD, and his feast is kept on the 10th of August. His remains are said to be buried on the grounds of the chapel. The monastery here was possibly the forerunner to the better known monastery of the St Columba of Iona. St Blane's was the parish church of Kingar for many centuries. So there's steps and a gate around the back. See, as we're trying to climb that wall. and have a look around the old chapel. The structures on this site belong to two eras. The early Christian monastery abandoned during the Viking raids around 790 AD, and later a parish church built in the 1100s and in use until the Protestant Reformation of 1560. Here's the nave, early 12th century. The part of the church where lay folk of Kingarth parish worshipped. Repaired in 1898 by the 3rd Marquis of Bute. Note the tower course inserted by the architect Robert van Schultz to indicate the division between the old and the new masonry. We just viewed the chancel arch, separated the two parts of the parish church of chevron moulding and the dogtooth carving, now weathered, are characteristic of church architecture of this period. Chancel, 14th century, the part of the church reserved for the clergy, replaced the original and the small 12th century chancel. Here, the north of James McPhee, I can't read all that, I'm not sure, it's all in English, age 55, and also daughter 14, maybe, I don't know. Some old gravestones and some broken gravestones, you can just see the bottom bits broken. Very old graveyard. It's not giving me the, well, as of yet, it's not giving me the creeps like it did at the Kirkmadreen Chapel over on the Mull of Galloway last year. Now that graveyard did give me the creeps. The place certainly looks well looked after. These sort of a, don't know what you call it, a grave of, says on the gate, in ever loving memory of Sir William and Lady McEwen of Garrity, John A.C. McEwen, Margaret D.B. McEwen, Hugh A. McEwen, William McEwen, R. MacDonald. Doesn't have a date on it. There is a headstone back there. Looks quite new, if I'm reading it correct. It says 1953. Chapel of unknown date, but probably part of the Dark Age monastery. The burials inside are medieval dated. So these graves inside here are old, very old. That's St Blane's Church. So I'll just come off the West Island Way and at St Blane's Chapel, and well, this tremendous view across the Isle of Arran, and there's a beach or a bay just down there. We'll probably investigate. We're now going to go over to an old Bronze Age fort, a Vitrified fort, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So we just left a little parking area for the chapel. If you just want to visit the chapel, you can just park up there. And now we're on the main road. The bus comes up this way as well, apparently, because that car park is also a bus turning point. So there's a gate just off the road. Should take us down to the old Bronze Age fort. Dunagoil is a vitrified fort. The Iron Age hill fort ramparts have been melted by intense heat. It stands on a volcanic headland and gives its name to the bay that it overlooks. Its name derives from Gaelic meaning Fort of the Foreigners. Archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of artefacts within the fort, which are now on display at the Rothesay Museum. We are now on our way to explore the remains of the hill fort. So there's a beautiful spot. As you can see over to the Isle of Arran. Looks like the remains of the fort is just there on top of the hillside. And there's a little cave. So there's a little cave here. So we're getting some smashing views out to Arran as we make our way to the hill fort. It goes up round the back. Hopefully manage to find the right place. So I believe we're at where the hill fort is, or was. There's not much left of it. You can see down into Dunagoil Beach, Bay. Some smashing views off here. Superb views from up here, superb. There's the bits of the, I believe is the fort, what's left of it. You see the old bits of wall you see from down below. There's very little left of it. Just going back off from the old fort, trying to find the route I took up, back down, taking in the views on the way back. And so that was Dunagoil Hill Fort. Okay, giving me funny looks. Let's make our way along this road. They're all a bit curious. Glad they're on that side of the fence though, if I'm honest. Oh, they're looking at me from that side as well. Hello. This is a walk from up yonder. It's passing this little farm. It's very pleasant. So we've just arrived at the Blackpark standing stones. Here we are at the Blackpark Stone Circle, also referred to as the Kingarth Stone Circle. There are 3 standing stones remaining in what is thought to have been a larger prehistoric stone circle. One of them has been re-erected, but it's not clear whether it's in its original setting. Also, one of the stones appears to have a face if viewed at the right angle. See if you can spot a face as I take a look around. This one looks as though it's been propped up by an iron post. So I'm just cutting through a path now after seeing the Kingarth stone circle, or the Blackpark stone circle. Just walking along this track after seeing the stones back to the Kilchatten Bay where I'm parked up. Hopefully I can grab a coffee before I head back to the hotel. But, certainly it's a lovely day now. And some smashing views out to the coast through the trees. Not too far from the state of Kilchatten Bay now. So we drop down towards the roadside. And this is back on the West Island Way. Yeah, smashing views out to I think is Great Cumbria. So here we are back in Kilchatten Bay. It's a lot brighter than it was this morning when we arrived. So that's the end of the explore around the south of the Isle of Bute. Taking in much of the West Upland Way before we got off the track at St Blane's Chapel, and then basically took a look at the old Bronze Age hill fort. Now just finishing off with a look along the little jetty in Kilchatten Bay. Quite awesome views. You look across to Glencallum Bay, I think, with the little lighthouse, old lighthouse on top, I think it is.